And this is a problem where you have, first of all, it looks like this. 90 plus 15y squared minus 18x minus 3xy squared. Okay, so what some of you are doing is you see the four terms and you're going directly to grouping, which at some point you're going to have to factor by grouping. All right, no big deal. You can attempt that way. You can say, all right, I'm going to group the first two, and I'm going to group the last two. Okay, no big deal. For the first group, what's the GCF? Is it?
Yeah, that's not.
Say it again. That's 90. 50, will 15 go to 90? No? Okay, so it's 5. All right, so you're going to say 5 times, and then what's 5 into 90?
15 does go. 18.
So 15 does go to 90?
6 times.
Okay, so the GCF is not 5, guys. What's the GCF? 15. So 15, and that's going to be, what, 6? So 6 plus y squared, is that correct? All right, what's the GCF of the second term? Remember, you got to take out the negative factor here. 3. 3 times hold on, guys. Okay, I apologize. This right here should be an x. And the reason I knew something was wrong because when I factor out a 3, those two in parentheses would not be the same. Okay, so it's not just 3, it's 3 what? 3x. All right, and then what's going to be in parentheses? Plus, I'm sorry, yeah, plus, right? Because a negative times a positive is a negative. Y squared. Okay, what's the next step? Okay, so the GCF of those two terms is now 6 plus y squared.
Yeah.
So you get 6 plus y squared times what?
Times 15.
Minus 3x. Okay, now that's all of you should, if you did it that way, all of you should have gotten this because talking about grouping is not difficult. Here's a problem though. And when we talked about these, I asked yourself, you need to make sure that what you have in parentheses, the GCF is still 1. What's the GCF that I'm pointing to? 1. What's the GCF I'm pointing to? 3. GCF is 3. So that is not your answer. You did not factor completely. What you should have done first, which this is fine the way you're doing it, but what you should have done first was done what at the beginning? Find the GCF at the beginning. What's the GCF of all these four terms? 3. GCF is 3. So I'll do it both ways just to show you. So what you have to do next, and some of you are having a difficulty with MyMathLab with something like this, because in MyMathLab, if you do it this way and you write this as the answer, they're going to mark it wrong because you did not factor completely. What's the GCF in this expression right here? 3. So what you need to do is this. You're going to say something like this. You're going to say, all right, so I'm going to have this right here times 3. I'm taking out a 3. 3 times what? 5 minus x. And normally, though, we put that number, we put that GCF in front. So we're going to say 3 times 6 plus y squared times 5 minus x. So that's the answer you need. So that 3 is one of your factors. Okay? So if you leave this, if you do all this work and you leave your answer like this, on MyMathLab you get 0 points. On a worksheet, I'll give you most of your points. You just forgot to do the GCF. Well, on MyMathLab, you get nothing. It's either right or not. All right, what you should have done is this. I'll go ahead and write it over again. Okay, what you should have done was notice all the way at the beginning that the GCF is 3. Now, probably what happened was you didn't recognize that the GCF was 3, and so you just went ahead and you factored by grouping. Again, no big issue. You fix yourself, you fix it when you get to this last step right here, and you ask yourself, are the GCFs of both parentheses 1? The answer is no. So you can take out a 3. Okay? All right. You can take out a 3 at the beginning. 3 times what? 30. Plus 5y squared minus 6x xy squared. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and to the side, I'm going to rewrite this polynomial that's inside the parentheses. And now I'm going to factor that by grouping. So I'm going to factor this by grouping. From the first group, what could I factor out? 5. And what's left? Okay. From the second group, what can I factor out? Not just x. You got to take out that middle sign, remember? Negative x. Times what? Not 6 minus, a negative times a positive is the negative. So 6 what? Plus y squared. And now notice they have a 6 plus y squared in common. So you get 6 plus y squared times what? 5 minus x, and that goes here. So your answer is going to be, don't forget the GCF. GCF is 3, so it'll be 3 times what? 6 plus y squared times 5 minus x. Okay? All right. Again, either way is fine. You can take the GCF out of the beginning when you factor by grouping, or you can wait until you look at your factors and then do it and then factor out there. Okay? So when you do your worksheets, it's easier, especially worksheet F that it just gave you. A lot of the problems, there's a GCF other than 1, so you want to take it out first. Now you don't have to. You can do it like this, but don't forget, you need to take it out if the binomial or if the parentheses has a GCF other than 1. Okay? All right, so that should help you with some aspects of my math lab with this. Okay, now, let's see. Let's look at this. Okay, so let's factor. Don't worry about the number just yet. Let's factor x squared plus 6x plus 8. Are we going to factor this? All right. So as we go through these sections in this chapter, there's some strategies you're going to use. So far you know that the first thing you want to do when you factor a polynomial is to look for the GCF. Factor out the GCF. What is a GCF here?
2.
No, it's not. 1. GF is 1. You got to look at all 3 terms, not just the last 2. Okay, so the GCF is 1. So since GCF is 1, I'm not going to write it in parentheses like it did with some of the other problems. Then you asked yourself, can I factor by grouping? Can I factor this by grouping?
No.
No. You factor by grouping. In this course, we factored by grouping when we saw how many terms?
4.
4. And then we also saw in my math lab, I forgot to mention, in my math lab, there's one problem that you would attempt to factor by grouping, and it cannot be factored, okay? And we did 1 or 2 in class like that, where it was not factorable. But there's one in my math lab where where it cannot be factored. So just keep that in mind. All right. So that's not a 4 terms. It's only 3. So now since there's just 3 terms, and notice that this is quadratic, x squared. All right. So since there are 3 terms and it's quadratic, the x squared, you want to try and factor it as 2 binomials. So one of the worksheets you turned in the beginning of this chapter was where you multiply 2 binomials using what method? FOIL. So notice that when you multiply it out, for the most part, almost all of them, your answer was a trinomial.
Yeah.
So now you're going backwards. So you want to end up with your 2 binomials. That's what you end up with. All right. Now this section that we're about to do, that section is the easiest of all the sections for the remainder of this chapter, and you're going to see why. Okay, so you're going to just use reverse FOIL. That's what you're using, FYL. And so let's think about this. So you're going to do the F first. You're going to do this first right here. So you're going to do that first. And so remember, to get the F, that first term, you take the first terms of each binomial. So this times this, and you want to make sure that their product is this first term, meaning x squared. Well, what times what is x squared? X times x. So x goes here and x goes there. So that's the easy part. Then you go to the last. You go to the L. And you want to fill in those 2 last terms. Well, what times what is 8? Well, there's several possibilities. And you got to think of all those possibilities. There's 4 times 2. There's 8 times 1, right? And those are the only possibilities. 4 times 2, 8 times 1, in terms of whole numbers. So what you may want to do at this point, and we're going to, remember, this is going to be called trial and error. Trial and error. So you're going to try something. If it doesn't work, try something else. And the more of these you do, the better you get at it. Okay, so here's the idea. Let's put something in there. I'm going to put the one I'm going to put in is not going to be correct, though, just to show you. So I'm going to put the 8 and the 1. Let's put the 8 here, the 1 there. If that doesn't work, we may have to switch it. If that doesn't work, we may have to use the 4 and the 2. Hence a trial and error. But the more you do, the more practice you do, the better you get it. The quicker you become. It's not difficult. It's just you being able to think of all these possibilities and fool with them. Okay, now let's talk about the signs that are inside. This is the easy kind because that last sign's positive. So if you think about when you foiled, in order for that last to be positive, these signs in here had to be what? The same. Either both positive or both what? Negative. Because a negative times a negative is a positive. But a strategy is this. If the last sign's positive, we know that these signs have to be the same. Well, I want the outer and the inner to have what kind of sign? Positive in this case. So that means both of these have to be what? Positive. All right. So I filled in my terms. Doesn't mean it's correct. All I've done was filled it in. The only thing I haven't checked, you see where I have that arrow here and this arrow here? The only thing I haven't checked was the outer and the inner. So let's check the outer and the inner. What's the outer? X. What's the inner? When I add them up, what do I get? Is that what I wanted? No. So that's not correct. If you switch to 1 and the 8, would that help you at all? No. The 1 and 8 would not help you. You'd still get 9x. So that means that I've exhausted all possibilities for 8 and 1. So now we're going to try what? 4 and 2. I'm going to do this again. So we're going to say x times x is what? X squared. So before I get my first term, now let's do the 8. Now we know that 8 and 1 is not going to help. So we're going to try what? 4 and 2. We know that 4 times 2 is 8, right? Now guys, it did not matter. You see how I put the 4 first? Okay, when we get to the next section, it is going to matter little. So you're going to put the 2 here and the 4 there. Put it somewhere. Put it somewhere. So when you put in those terms, one goes here, one goes there. It does not matter at this point where you put it, because this is trial and error. If it doesn't work, you try something else. Switch it or try another pair. Switch or try another pair. Now once I fill these in, let's talk about the signs. What's my sign here? Positive. That's always the easy kind, is when the last sign's positive, because that means that these signs in here have to be the same. Either they're both positive or they're both negative. It depends on the middle sign. What's the middle sign? So they both have to be positive. Because I made them negative. If I made them negative and I did the out and the inner, what would my outer and inner add up to be? If I made them both negative. If those are both negative, if this is negative right here, here's what I'm asking. If this is negative, and this is negative, what's the outer? Negative 2x. What's the inner? When I add them up, what do I get? Negative 6x. And what did I want the positive? So I know they can't be both negative. They have to be both what? Positive. Okay. All right. Once you fill it in, though, you got to remember this, and that's where a few people mess up. They don't check. You get here when you take the test, get here at 6 o'clock with the other class. You have quite a bit of time to check your work. What's the outer? What's the inner? And you add them up, what do you get? And that's what you want. So there's your answer. So you factor. Remember, factoring means to write this polynomial as a product. Did I write this polynomial as a product? Yes. Your factors are x and x plus 4. And what's the other factor? X plus 2. So you wrote it as a product. So this polynomial is a product of these two factors. So in the blank, you put this answer. That's what you would put. Okay? All right, let's look at, and that was number 2 on page 975. And that's section 9.2. I'm sorry, 13.2. This is number 2. Okay, let's look at number 4. Number 4. Now this is an easy section, but I want you to do this section using trial and error, because that's the way you're going to do the rest of them. All right. So the first thing you always look for is what?
Second sign.
The GCF. GCF. And the GCF here is 1. Can I use factor by grouping? No. So then I have a trinomial, right? It is quadratic, y squared. So let's factor this as 2 binomials. Because think of that worksheet you turned in where you had to FOIL. When you FOILed it, you ended up with a trinomial that, for the most part, was quadratic. Okay, so then we're going to do FYL, first, outer, inner, last. All right, we're going to do the F first. What times what is y squared? Y and y. So y goes here, y goes there. So I filled my first term. I just got to fill in the second term. Now 11 is easy compared to 8 that we had earlier, because 11 is what kind of number? Prime. There are only 2 factors of a prime number, 1 and
11.
itself. So there's only one possibility, 11 and 1. So let's put, oh, I forgot right here. Remember when I wrote this, I put an R? I just want to show you that remember we put a 4 here and 2 there? You could have said 2, 4. If that doesn't work, you switch them, but it would still work because you get the same answer. X plus 2 times x plus 4 is the same as what? X plus 4 times x plus 2. Okay, so where does it matter where I put the 11 for right now? No. So let's put the 11 here. And we'll put what here? 1. Now this is the easy kind because the last sign is positive. So that means that these signs in here have to be the same, because it's the only way you can get a positive last term. A negative times a negative or a positive times a positive. But to determine what it is, you look at the middle sign. So I want what kind of out in the inner? Negative. So both of these have to be what? Negative. All right. Now always check yourself. You already checked the first and the last. Now all you gotta do now is check down the inner. What's the outer? Negative y. What's the? I meant the outer. What's the outer? Did I say outer? Okay. What's the outer? Negative y, right? What's the inner? When I add them up, what do I get? And that's what you wanted. So this is your answer. So you factored this trinomial. So you factored it as two binomials. All right, let's do number 6. Number 6, you have x squared minus 10x plus 25. So again, this is another easy one because of the last sign is positive. All right. So the GCF is 1. So we're going to try this by foiling. So we're going to factor this as two binomials. FYL. So let's do the F first. Yeah, but let's talk about this. What's F? What's my first term in both of these? X and X. Okay, now the last is 25, right? So there are two possibilities, 25 and 1, 5 and 5. Which one do you want to try? Now the strategy as we go through the next section and the section after that will be, you remember how I said the possibilities of 25 are 25 and 1, 5 and 5? Normally, it doesn't always work. Normally, you want to try the numbers that are close together in the number line. So you have 25 and 1, and then you have 5 and 5. So you're going to try what first? 5 and 5. Let's put 5 here, 5 there. Last sign's positive. It's the easy kind. That means the signs are the same. So they both what? Negative. Now always check yourself. You got to check that. The only thing we haven't checked was the outer and the inner. What's my outer? What's the inner? When I add them up, what do I get? And that's what you wanted. So the answer is x minus 5 times x minus 5. Or, since those two factors are the same, you can say x minus 5 squared. All right, number 8.
The math lab is gonna give. How do we do it on the math lab? Like you get one like that. Is it gonna be x minus 5 squared, or we can?
It doesn't matter. I think you can. With something like this, if they don't specify, either one's fine. Because normally they put all correct possibilities, so you should be okay. All right. Now notice this time the last sign's not positive. Okay, so you got to listen to what we're going to discuss. All right, the procedure is the same. You got to check for the GCF. The GCF here is what? 1. GCF is 1. So we're going to go directly to the two binomials. FYL. Procedure is the same. Do the F first. What times what is x squared? X times x. Then we're going to do the last, L. Now, I do know that the last term is negative 30, right? No, it's not 30, it's what? Negative 30. But let's just deal with the 30 for right now. What are the possibilities of 30? 5, 6, 2, 15, 31, 3, 10, correct? All right. So what you want to do, though, it doesn't always work out that way, but many times it does, where you want to try the pairs that are close together in the number line first. Which of those pairs are close together in the number line? 5 and 6. So let's try that first. So let's put the 5 here, the 6 here. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's what you want to try first. And now we're going to talk about the last sign. The last sign's negative, right? Okay. So that means that in order for us to get a negative 30, one has to be positive, the other one has to be negative. For right now, make one positive, one negative. That is trial and error. So let's say this is positive, this is negative. Okay? Now remember, we've done the F and the L, but don't say that's the answer without checking the out and the inner. What's the outer? What's the inner? When I add them up, what do I get? What did I want?
Negative.
So x and negative x are opposites. So that means all I need to do is either switch the signs or switch the terms. Let's just switch the signs. So I just got to switch the signs because I wanted a negative x. So in other words, instead of saying x minus 5, I'll say what? You say what now? X plus 5 is one. What did you just say? No, but you could have said x minus 6 first. Doesn't matter. No, you're fine. You could have said x minus 6, but I want you to say, instead of saying x minus 5, say x plus 5. Instead of saying x plus 6, say what? X minus 6. But you could have said x minus 6 times x plus 5. They're the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Because multiplication is commutative. Now, check. What's the outer this time? Yeah, now if you did this one, it would have been negative 6x, right? I'm doing this one. So 5x, what's the inner?
Negative 6x.
When I add them up, what do I get? Which is what I wanted. So here's your answer. All right, 12. All right, 12, you have x squared minus 7x plus 5. X squared minus 7x plus 5. So you're going to factor this trinomial. What's the GCF?
1.
So let's go to the two binomials. And reverse FOIL. So let's do the F first. What are the possibilities for x squared? Okay. Now let's go through the L. What are the possibilities for 5? There's only one. It's prime. 5 and 1. So let's put the 5 here, the 1 there. Last sign's positive, right? What does that mean? Signs are the same. So they're both going to be what? Negative. Okay. Now do you circle that as the answer? What must you do? Check the out and the inner. What's the outer? What's the inner? When I add them up, what do I get? Is that what I wanted?
No.
No. Reversing the order is not going to matter either. And there's only one possibility for 5 was 5 and 1.
Is it 5 or 50? I thought you said 50.
5. I could have said 50, but I meant 5. What do you notice here? Huh?
Sorry, it's as simplified as it can go.
Okay, the direction. Remember when you did we did some problems yesterday, and we tried factoring. We noticed that there were a couple that we did that could not be factored, right?
It can't be factored.
This cannot be factored. Cannot be factored. But instead of writing the word can't be factored, we prefer now that you use the word prime.
Prime.
So this polynomial is prime, meaning it cannot be factored. Cannot be factored, so it's prime. All right, so on the math lab, you're going to have some that are prime, and I think they're going to use the word prime this time. All right, let's look at 10. You have x squared plus 4x minus 32. X squared plus 4x minus 32. GCF? 1. So we go to two binomials. FYL. What are possibilities for F? X and X. Okay, L, 30. I know the last term is negative 32, but let's just deal with 32. What are the possibilities with 32? 8, 4, 16 to 132. I think that's it, right? Okay. What do you want to try first?
8 and 4.
8 and 4? Okay. So let's put the 8 here, the 4 here. All right, now, the last sign is what? So that means that signs will be different. And I want you to remember this. When the signs are different, look at the middle sign. What is that middle sign? Positive. So that means this. That means that the larger of these, the on the inner, will be the middle sign. So this is 8x, and this is what? 4x. Which one's larger, 8x or 4x? So that means 8x has to be what? Positive, and 4x has to be negative. So that means this right here is what? Negative, and this is positive. So with the strategy I used?
The larger number has to be positive.
Yeah, because of the middle sign. Okay? The larger the outer and inner has to be the middle sign. And so you're done. There's the answer. Okay, let's look at 18. So you're going to have something like 18. It'll look like this. It'll look like 17 plus 18n plus n squared. In all the problems we've done with this, notice that the trinomial, the quadratic trinomial, was written in descending order. Here it's written in ascending order. So you may want to, you don't have to, but you may want to rewrite this in descending order, going from large exponent to small. So I'm going to rewrite this as what? N squared plus 18n plus 17. Okay, it's easier on the mind if you have it written in descending order. GCF is 1. And so you would get n, right? FYL. L is easy. It's prime. So there's only one possibility. 17 and 1. Last sign, this is an easy problem because the last sign is positive. So that means these signs are the same and they're both positive. You got to do one more thing, and that's to check the outer and the inner. The outer is n. The inner is, when I add them up, I get 18n. So that's your answer. Now, if you did not put in descending order, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Because there will be situations where you may need to leave it in ascending order. And you're going to see what I mean when we get to something like it. But let's leave it like this for right now. Fall method. FYL. Okay? F means this. Remember, F means this. Look at the first term. What times what is 17? 17 and 1. Just like we've been doing. Now let's look at the L. What times what's n squared? N. Look at the last sign. The last sign's what? Positive. Means these signs in here have to be the same, and they're both what? Positive. Check down the inner, because that's the only things I haven't checked so far. What's the outer? What's the inner? When I add them up, do I get 18n? So that's your answer as well. I need for you to recognize that those two are the same, though. Is 17 plus n the same as n plus 17?
Yes.
Yes, because addition is commutative. Is 1 plus n the same as n plus 1?
Yes.
Because addition is commutative. Okay. So it didn't matter whether you put it in descending or ascending order. All right, let's look at 22. So there'll be problems where, in all the problems you've done so far, there was only one variable. Variable x in number 6, the variable y in number 4, right? There's only one variable. So if you look at number 22, again, don't make it difficult. This is what you have. A squared minus 9ab, that's a 9ab, plus 18b squared. All right? It's not that difficult. It's you work it the same way you did before. What's the GCF? 1. So now we go to two binomials. Two binomials. And do FYL. F is easy. What two things multiply together is a squared?
A.
A and A. All right, now let's do the L. What is the last term? What's that last term right here? 18b squared, right? Okay, for right now, let's just think about 18 for the moment. Let's go to 18. What are the possibilities for 18? 9, 6, 3, 118, right? That's about it. Let's try. What do you want to try first? It doesn't matter, but be 6 and 3. That's what you're going to try first. So I'm going to put the 6 here, the 3 there. But if that's all you put, you're making a mistake. Because 6 times 3 is 18. What do I want? 18b squared. So I don't need 6, just 6 and 3. I need 6 what? B and 3b. Okay. All right. And that was a difficult part. Really wasn't difficult, but that was a difficult part of the rest we have to do for this problem. Because the last sign's positive means these signs are the same and they're both what? Negative. And now all you do is check the out and the inner. What is A times a negative 3B? AB, put in alphabetical order. So negative 3AB, right? What's the inner? That's a 6 right here. What's negative 6B times A? Put in alphabetical order. Negative 6AB. Combine like terms, I get what? Negative 9AB. And that's what you wanted. So there's your answer. So A minus 6B times A minus 3B. Okay? All right, let's look at 24. You have 3x squared plus 30x plus 63.
Quick question. So, real quick, going back to 10, whenever the last number, like for instance, if 63 was negative, that's when the rule will come into play that you make the bigger number.
The larger the outer inner, the middle sign. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. All right. What's the first thing you're going to do? GCF. What is the GCF? 3. So you're going to rewrite this as 3 times, and what's going to be in parentheses? Plus 21, is that right? Okay. Now, you're not done, because now you got to look at that parentheses, which is this quadratic trinomial, and see if you can factor it. So I'm going to go off to the side. Go off to the side and see if you can factor this. All right. So we're going to do FYL with this trinomial. Okay, so the first thing you do is factor out the GCF if it's other than 1. So it's just 3, so we factored out. Now go off to the side and kind of see if you can do anything else to this parentheses. So FYL, let's do the F. What times what's x squared? X and x. L, 21. There are 2 possibilities. 3, 7, 21, and 1. So what do you want to try? 3 and 7. Last sign is positive. So the signs in you have to be the same, and they're both going to be positive, because there's no way you can get a positive middle term. Now check. What's the outer? What's the inner? All right. Now, a mistake people make is that, there's on the worksheet there's a blank. They put this in the blank, but that's not correct, because what else? What did you forget to do? Your GCF. So So this is your answer. Don't forget the GCF. So it's 3 times your two binomials. So that's your answer. Let's look at 26. You have 3x cubed minus 12x squared minus 36x. So 3x cubed minus 12x squared minus 36x. GCF? 3x. GCF is 3x. So you factor out a 3x. And what's going to be inside the parentheses, though?
4x squared.
No, not 4x squared. X squared minus 4x minus 12. Right? Okay. Is that my answer? No, you got to check this trinomial that's in parentheses and see if you can factor it. So I'm going to go off to the side. I'm going to rewrite it just like this. And yeah. So when we did the FYL, there's only one possibility for x squared. That's what? X and x. Now, the 12. There are several possibilities. There's 3 and 4, 6 and 2, 12 and 1, right? Now, now remember I said, you always want to try the numbers that are close together, the number line. So you're probably going to try 3 and 4, and you're going to notice that it's not going to work. 3, 4 won't work. But I didn't say it worked all the time. Remember that. So you can try 3, 4. It's not going to work because what? If you put 3 here, 4 here, last sign's negative, right? These signs you have to be different. So the large of these, though, will take that middle sign. So let's see, that's what, 4x here? And that's 3x? So that means that if this worked correct, that means that 4x should have to be what? Negative. And 3x should have to be positive, but when I add them up, I get what? Negative x. What do I want? Negative 4x. So 4 and 3 wouldn't work. So what you're going to try instead is what? So try the next one that are closer together. So 6 and 2. Last sign's negative means these signs are different. So the larger of the outer inner will take the middle sign negative. What's the outer here? What's the inner? So 6x is going to be negative. 2x is going to be. I'm going to add them up. What do I get? So that's what I wanted. So all I got to do is fill in the signs. So this has to be positive, and this has to be negative. That's right. So 3x times x minus 6 times x plus 2. Okay. All right, so there's 26. All right, let's look at 28. X squared minus 4xy minus 77y squared. So x squared minus 4xy minus 77y squared. GCF? 1. So let's go directly to two binomials. FOIL. Okay, let's go to the F first. What times what's x squared? Okay, let's do the L next. So I'll eventually want a negative 77y squared because that's my last term, but let's just do with 77y squared. What are the possibilities for 77? 177, 11 times 7, right? And that's about it, right? In fact, those are the only two. So you want to try what? 11 and 7. So, but remember though, it's not just 77, it's 77 y squared. So I really need to say 11 what? Y and 7 y.
And it's gonna be x minus 11y and x plus 7y.
That's correct. So the last sign's negative, so that means that in order for this to be a negative 77y squared, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. The larger of these will take the middle sign. What's the outer? 7xy. What's the inner? So that means 11xy has to be negative and 7xy has to be positive. And when I do add them up, I do get what? Negative 4xy. So now we know that this is in correct order. I just got to put the correct signs. So there's going to be x minus 11y and then x plus 7y. And so that's your answer.
It doesn't matter the order, like say for instance, you have x minus 11y, I have x plus 7y, and then.
Doesn't matter. Multiplication is commutative. So you could say x plus 7y
Yeah, that's right.
times x minus 11y. It does not matter. Okay, 34. You have r squared minus 10r plus 21.
Seven and 3.
All right, GCF is 1. FOIL. So there's only one possibility for F, and that's R and R, right? And for L, there are two possibilities, 7, 3, 21, and 1. What do you want to try?
7 and 3.
So let's put the 7 first and the 3 next, so you can put the 3 and the 7, does not matter. What do you say about the signs, though? They have to be the same, because the last sign's positive, and they have to both be what? Negative. And then remember, you got to check down in before you go on. The outer is negative 3r, inner is negative 7r. Do I get the middle term? Yep. So there's your answer. Okay. 30. Let's see. Let's do 36. 36. You have x squared minus xy minus 6y squared. X squared minus xy minus 6y squared. GCF is 1. FOIL. There's only one possibility for F, and that's x times x. There are a couple possibilities for L for 6, 3, 2, 6, 1. What do you want to try first? 3, 2. Now, remember, there are two variables here, so I can't just say 3 and 2. I got to say 3y and 2y. Last sign is negative, though. So that means the larger of the outer inner will take the middle sign. The outer is 2xy. What's the inner? 3xy. So that means that 3xy has to be negative. 2xy has to be, but so make sure you get that negative 1xy. Do I get negative 1xy? Yes. So my order's correct now. I'm just going to put the sign. So the first binomial will be x minus 3y. And the second will be x plus 2y. That's your answer for 36. Okay, 48. Here, you just, I'm going to put it right here if you didn't get it, if you didn't get it all. And 48. You have 3x cubed plus 3x squared minus 126x. 3x cubed plus 3x squared minus 126x. GCF? 3x. times what's in the binomial. I mean, what's in the parentheses?
X squared.
X plus X squared.
Minus 32, is that correct? No, not 32, 42? 42, right? 42. Okay, so now we're going to go off to the side and kind of figure out if I can do anything with this x squared plus x minus 42. Okay, FYL. F is easy. That's going to be XX. Okay, L is negative 42. We're going to talk about the 42. What is positive 42? 7, 6, 2, and 21, 42, and 1. That's about it, I think. What do you want to try? Okay, let's say 7 here, 6 here. The last sign's negative, so that means the signs are different, correct? So I know that the larger the outer and the inner is going to be positive. What's the outer? 6x? And the inner 7x? That means 7x has to be, 7x has to be what? Positive. 6x has to be negative. But remember, make sure when you add them up, you get the middle term. Do I get the middle term? Yes. So now my order's correct. I just got to put the sign. So it'll be x plus 7 times x minus 6. Now don't forget, I use a mistake is to put this in a blank, and that's not correct. Because you don't forget about your GCF. So the answer is this. It's 3x times what? X minus 6. Okay? All right, and then let's try 56. 56. All right, 56. You have 50 plus 20t plus 2t squared. All right, what's your GCF? 2. Now you could have written in descending order, but if you leave it like it is, it'll be 2 times 25, 10t plus t squared. All right. No, because that's a 50. That's not 50t. Yeah, you have to have a t in every term. All right, so let's factor this trinomial. This one's easy to factor. What times what's 25? 5 and 5. What times what's t squared? T times t, right? Last sign's positive. T squared's positive. So that means the signs are the same in both what? Positive. And you can check because the outer is 5t, correct? And the inner is also what? And when you add them up, do you get that 10t? Yeah. So here's your answer. Or you could say 2 times what? Or you can say 2 times what? T plus what? 5 squared. Or over here you could say 2 times what? Instead of saying 5 plus t, t plus 5, and then times what? T plus 5. So those are all possible answers. If you had put in descending order, you would have gotten this. This is what you would have gotten if you had put this in descending order. Okay, let's look at one more, and I'll give you a worksheet to work on. I think I may have to do, I may have to do 2 more because on my math lab they may ask you this. So let me do 2 more. But here's one of them. This is number 50. You have 3x squared y minus 9xy plus 45y. Okay, what's the GCF? 3y. What's in parentheses? X squared minus 3y plus 15 is right. 3y times x squared is 3x squared y. 3y times a negative 3y is a negative. That's not supposed to be y. That's supposed to be what? X. Sorry. So 3y times negative 3x is a negative 9xy. And then 3y times 15 is 45y. Okay, now let's see if I can factor x squared minus 3x plus 15. Okay, two binomials. X and x, right? For 15, there are two possibilities, 5, 3, 15, 1. What do you want to try first? 5 and 3. Last sign's positive, means these signs both have to be the same, and they both have to be what? All right. Does that work? No. Because the out and the inner, when you do the out and the inner, you get negative 8x. What you want? Negative 3x. Doing 15 and 1, is that going to help at all? No. So in terms of this right here that I'm looking at, can I factor this? No. So that is prime, right? Okay, now be careful. The answer is not prime. Because remember, I did factor this polynomial. How did I factor it? How did I factor this polynomial right here? GCF. This is your answer. So don't say prime. The answer is not prime because you were able to factor. All you could do is taking out the GCF. That's all you could do. Okay? Now, in everyone we've done up in this point in this section, we were able to factor this trinomial. This is an example where we couldn't. So that trinomial right here is prime, but this polynomial we began with is not prime because I could take out a what? 3y. Okay? All right. Let's try, what time is it? Okay. So let's do, let me do this. Let me check something real quick.